Hey, good morning. I'm Kevin Sevilla. I'm with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. Today we're at beautiful Cane Hollow Recreation Area. I have Chuck Earls, U.S. kayak fishing professional out of Lake Erie, here with us visiting Center Hill. Chuck, welcome to Center Hill Lake.
Thank you, Kevin. It's great to be here.
Appreciate you coming out. And today we're going to have Chuck demonstrate some things that he does while he's fishing Lake Erie and all the other lakes that he fishes and stay safe. You know, being in and around the water. It's important to be sure that you're able to go home each and every day. And Chuck's got some really neat information and some tools that he uses while he's out on the water to keep himself safe. So, Chuck, tell us a little bit about what you do, brother.
Well, I want to start out with saying I'm not here to tell you what to do. At the end of the day, it's your life and your decision. Take these lessons that I'm sharing with you and, just think about things. The one thing that you want to think about when we make a mistake on the water and we don't make it back, we only suffer for a short time. But our family, our loved ones, they suffer for the rest of their lives. So we don't wear a life jacket because of us. We wear a life jacket for them. We don't wear a dry suit because of us. We wear a dry suit because of them. We have to make it back to them. So the first thing that I want to talk about is one of the most important pieces of gear, and I say one of because the dry suit is also right up there when the water temperature is below 60 degrees. It will take your life within a matter of minutes. So with your life jacket, you always want to have it on. Have it on, have it zipped up. I know some days it's hot, some days it's uncomfortable, some life jackets aren't as fitting as others. So if it's something that you're not going to wear, you're not comfortable to wear, shop around, find one that feels good, something that you're going to wear. Because what happens when you fall out of your kayak and your kayak starts drifting away, now you have to swim to that kayak and get your life jacket out, and then you have to try to put it on while you're trying to keep your head above water. So you can see firsthand experience how it actually looks and make the decision for yourself. This is an NRS Chinook OS for offshore because I spend 99% of my time offshore, miles offshore on Lake Erie. So I want to stay highly visible and I want to have pockets for all my gear. That way, if my kayak floats away, everything I need is right here. So the first piece of equipment that I want to talk about is a safety knife. Any pocket knife will work. But the NRS safety knife is something special. It has a blunt side and a blunt tip. So if you get wrapped up real tight like that, you can actually use this knife, push down, get under that wrap without stabbing yourself and cut yourself free. Now with a regular pocket knife, you want to think it's got a sharp tip. You're bobbing around in the water trying to get under that wrap. Last thing you want to do is cut an artery when you're trying to rescue yourself. And I keep mine on a tether, that way it's always there. The next thing is a VHF radio, because especially around here, your phone is not going to work. You're not going to have service. So if you get into a dangerous situation, you're not going to be able to use your phone to contact anybody. The VHF radio many times will work. But the one thing that you want to remember with a VHF radio is it works off a line of sight. So out on Lake Erie, we might be 3-4 miles away from other boaters. They're not going to pick up my signal from my VHF radio. The Coast Guard, they have tall radio towers. Chances are they will pick it up. Out here, it's a different situation. There's not a whole lot of tall radio towers, so this might work, it might not. And that brings me to the next piece of equipment, which is a personal locator beacon. This is a ACR Rescue Link View. The personal locator beacon is guaranteed to work. When you activate it, it sends your signal up to the satellites and back down to the rescuing authorities, and within a few minutes, they're looking for you. They know exactly who you are because this is registered to me. They know what your GPS location is, and it also has a homing signal. So if I float 3 to 4 miles away from my original location, they know exactly where I'm at. This is also a great thing to carry when you're hiking in the woods. If you're out in the middle of nowhere, something happens, there's a medical emergency, this will get you help. This will get you rescued. It's a small price to pay for your life. You know, at the end of the day, you want to ask yourself, what is my life worth? What is my life worth? and just buy the equipment, buy it once, and be done with it. Like I said before, the objective is to make it back to our loved ones and be able to enjoy the rest of our life with them. So wear your life jacket, have everything in your pockets readily available, so if the kayak does drift away, you have everything here. And the last piece of equipment that I carry in my life jacket is a little pocket air horn. I have a whistle as well. Whistle is required by the U.S. Coast Guard. It's probably required on these waters as well. Some kind of sound signaling device. But a whistle isn't going to be heard very far. And if there's a boat flying by with the motor, they're not going to hear your whistle. But they will hear your air horn. So a little air horn, put it in your life jacket. Like I said, when you have it on, everything is here. When I need it, I have everything I need to keep myself safe. So the other thing that I want to talk about is cold water. Anytime the water temperature is below 60 degrees, it's very, very dangerous. Out on Lake Erie in Ohio, our water temperature is below 60 degrees 6 months out of the year. Well, in 60-degree water, you have 20 to 30 minutes, maybe. And then you start losing the dexterity in your fingers and the ability to think. So get yourself a dry suit, something like this. This has wrist gaskets. And this particular one is technically called a semi-dry suit because it has a neoprene neck gasket. The reason it has a neoprene neck gasket is it's a lot more comfortable. You're not being strangled by that strong gasket around there. And at the end of the day, if it's too uncomfortable to wear, you're not going to wear it. This will keep me 99.9% dry. I might get a trickle of water down the back of my neck if I lean back and I don't have it cinched down tight, but it's not enough to do any damage. I've tested this thing in the most extreme conditions, so it works. I know it's going to save my life. This is a Kokatat Hydrus Super Angler. I think it's about $750. Yes, it's expensive, but you want to think, again, what's your life worth? And my suit is about 7 years old. I beat it up. You can see it takes abuse. If you spend $750 on this thing, it's going to last you 8 to 10 years. What is that? $75 a year to keep you on the water and make it back to your family. So invest in the right gear for your family and just wear it. There's some other things that I want to talk about that I do carry with me in my kayak. In a dry bag, I carry a LifeStraw water filtration system. My buddy, my neighbor, got lost out on Lake Erie for 3.5 days about 28 years ago. So there wasn't all this technology they have today. And the Coast Guard had no idea where they were because where is the landmarks? It's nothing but water. They were sucking ice cubes to fight off dehydration. That LifeStraw, if I need to, I can drink from this lake, I can drink from any lake and not get sick. I also carry just non-perishable, high-protein snacks. When you're on the water, especially on a hot day, you don't realize how much energy you're exerting until it hits you, and then you realize, I don't have the energy to get back, I'm feeling sick. Having those snacks readily available that stay in my dry bag, that stays in my kayak, so there's no way that I can ever forget it. If I get to that point, I reach in, I grab a snack, and I can refuel my body to make it back. The other things that I carry is a first aid kit, just with a collection of stuff. You know, you want to have everything from simple band-aids to disinfectant to, you know, even some thread. If you slice yourself open and you got to sew yourself shut or sew somebody else shut. A lot of my preparations aren't just for me. They're also for a situation where when I come across an angler or a kayaker that is in danger. The other things that I carry on top of the first aid kit and everything else, I carry a fire starting bag. So I have multiple ways to start a fire. I have a standard lighter. I have a strike kit with magnesium and flint so that I can start a fire, a warming fire for me or for somebody else that I come across that isn't prepared. And you know, it's not that anybody is trying to be unsafe out here. It's, you know, sometimes we just don't know any better. I was there. There was a time in my life where I didn't know any better. So having a fire starting kit where in an emergency you can pull up to shore, start a little warming fire, strip off your wet clothes and get warm. And I also carry a space blanket. So it's a lightweight blanket, fits in a little pack like this, real small, but it's reflective. So if you're cold, you strip off your clothes, you put that space blanket on, you sit by the warming fire, and you can fight off hypothermia with that aspect. The last thing that I carry in my dry bag, because I am on Lake Erie, is a flare gun. I don't carry a regular flare. We're in plastic boats. They don't like fire very much, so I carry a flare gun just in case I experience an emergency. So here in a few minutes, we're going to jump on the water and we're going to go through a kayak re-entry demonstration. I'm going to show you what happens when you fall in your kayak, why most kayaks flip over when most people fall out. It's not because the kayak's necessarily unstable. It's what I like to call the deer in the headlights look, because most people have not practiced the re-entry. So when it happens, they don't know what to do. Their eyes get big and they grab the other side of the kayak and it goes over with them. Well, that puts you in a situation, now your kayak's upside down. You might be able to climb on top of it, but you're not going to paddle back. So I'm going to teach you how to actually flip that kayak back over, and then we're going to go through a few different ways to re-enter the kayak on a sit on top fishing kayak, as well as a sit inside kayak. And lastly, before we get on the water, any kind of kayak you have, a sit on top, a sit inside kayak, when you're using your paddle, you got to remember that paddle is your lifeline. You want to use a tether on your paddle. That way, worst case scenario, you flip over, your paddle's not going to float away. It's always going to be attached. You don't want to find yourself up the creek without a paddle. So strap that down, that way you have your motor on. One more thing before I get on the water, you always want to carry a manual bilge pump with you. They're very inexpensive, and you just throw it in the hole and you leave it. It's always going to work. You don't have to worry about charging up batteries or anything like that. But if you flip your sit inside kayak over, when you flip it right side up, it's going to have water in the hull. You're going to have to pump that out before you even try to re-enter. A manual bilge pump is one of the most important things that you're going to carry. But you don't want to think just because I'm on a sit on top kayak, I don't need a bilge pump. Back in 2018, there was 4 of us offshore, me and 3 other buddies, and we were probably a half mile to a mile away from each other. I got a phone call, my buddy was in the water. Well, what had happened was his kayak developed a crack, and it doesn't matter what brand of kayak you have, these are plastic kayaks, they can crack. So you want to prepare for that. His kayak developed a crack and threw him in the water. We're 2 miles offshore, he can't get back in his kayak because it's almost flooded. And at that point, nobody had a bilge pump. You remember when I said that nobody's trying to be unsafe out there? Sometimes we just don't know any better. Well, that is an experience when I didn't know any better. I didn't have a bilge pump, and neither did the other guys. But we managed to get them back to shore, and we all learned a very valuable lesson that day. So grab a manual bilge pump and just kind of keep it with you. Keep it in the kayak, just like the dry bag. Leave it in the hull. You're never going to forget it if it's always on that kayak. All right, so what we're going to do, I'm actually going to throw my dry suit on just so I don't get my clothes wet. The water temperature is 78 degrees. It's good to go for swimming, but we'll throw the dry suit on just to stay dry, and we'll get on the water, and I'll show you some demonstrations. So what you want to do, you want to get your kayak, leave your gear on shore, and just purposely flip it over. That's going to do one of 2 things. Stability is not purchased, it's earned. So when you flip your kayak over, now you know exactly where that kayak flips. Subconsciously, you take a mental note, so next time it starts leaning, without even thinking, you shift your body weight, and chances are you're probably going to stay in the kayak. The other thing that it does is it teaches you those re-entry skills. So instead of being in an emergency situation where you have to learn how to get back in, it's a matter of life and death. Now you have those skills so you know how to do it. When most people flip over, the kayak starts going over and they don't know what to do, so they grab the other side. Now you're in, you're floating around, your kayak's upside down. What are you gonna do? I can't get over there, I can't flip it. What are you gonna do? Well, that's where the strap comes in. You have a strap that's tied to the side of your kayak, whether it's on a handle or a tether point or anything. I'm using it as my paddle release as well. So I'm gonna throw that strap over the top of the hole. Swim back around, then grab your strap, put your knees on there, use your body weight to flip it back over. That strap will help rewrite the kayak. Or if you're struggling like that, get yourself up there, grab the strap and just pull. So we're gonna get in a little bit deeper water, so I'm over my head, I can't touch, and I'll show you how to get in. So the first thing that you wanna do, grab the side, kick your feet. You want your body parallel to the water surface. If you're struggling with that, you can lean on it and just relax and it'll float. Once you get up, you wanna reach. You get your belly button in the center of the kayak, let it stabilize, and then you can rotate and get your butt into the seat. Now one thing that can be very challenging for people that have, injuries or anything like that, or they don't have the upper body strength. So there's other ways that you can do it. On the side of your kayak, if you're up and down like this and you push, you're probably gonna roll it over on you. So you wanna get parallel. If you can't get parallel, take your strap and you're gonna put it on the bow of your kayak. And what you want to do, you want to make a little lasso so you can get your foot in there and use that as a step in. So let's get back into deeper water. So now I'm gonna bring my foot up, and then I can use my foot to lift myself in. That bow will take your weight, and then you can just slide right in just like that.
Thank you.
So really easy. Now if you have your life jacket in your kayak, most of the time what's going to happen, when you fall out, your kayak's going to float away. Now that kayak's way away from me. I got to swim to it to try to get my life jacket. If I'm struggling, I might not be able to get to it. So now, pulling water. And you have to tread water to stay afloat. So now I have to swim to him to try to get a hold of that life jacket. And then I have to try to stay afloat and try to get this thing on. I think that matters. So it's so hard to get this thing on and get it zipped up and in the position that it's actually going to save your life. And that's why you want to wear it. Now with the sit inside kayaks, they're a lot more tippy. So, same thing, you're going to float, grab here, tip, get your belly button in the center of that kayak, let it stabilize, and then flip around. Once you flip around, you can go ahead and get your feet in. If you have upper body issues or injuries or something like that, same thing, put a strap on here, use a lasso, and then you can scoot on, just like that. So see, these are tipping. Real easy to make a mistake, and what happens when you tip it? So now we're gonna pull this thing back over, and look. Now we have all this water in our kayak. You try to get back in, and it throws you over because all that water is sloshing around. So you'll have to use your hand bilge pump to actually pump that water out before you can even try to get back in. The last thing I want to say, grab your kayak, hit a beach, leave your gear on the shore, put your life jacket on, purposely flip it over. Learn what you're gonna have to experience in that dangerous situation. And then after you flip it over, now you can try to re-enter. You can realize different things. If you have a bunch of gear on your kayak, maybe it's in your way. So you want to plan differently, or you want to find a different re-entry location, whether it's the back of the kayak, the front of the kayak, or have gear like the Yak Attack lock and load system, where you can just hit a button, move that gear out of the way, and give you a clear re-entry location. So you want to go through and you want to simulate that. Simulate it so on the water when it happens, because as kayakers, we're always just in between swims. Doesn't matter whether you're a new kayaker or a 10-year veteran. With the skinniest kayak or the most stable kayak on the market, one day it's gonna happen. So prepare for it and learn the necessary skills that may one day save your life. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you on the water.